Hi guys, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Today I'm shooting a video on gestational diabetes, and I'm shooting this video, now I'm 8 months postpartum, but I'm shooting this video because I received some comments and questions on my birth vlog and other videos about gestational diabetes, and so I thought I would shoot this video and talk about my experience and how it came about, what happened after birth and so forth, to give more information to people that are going through this issue right now. Because it is very common. It's a lot more common than people talk about, but I know that when I was going through it, I did a lot of research and there was very little information out there that would soothe my mind, and I was like, you know, really worried about what was going to happen with my baby, what was going to happen with me, and so forth. So I wanted to shoot this video and just share my experience about that. So to give you a little bit of background, I was pre-diabetic before I got pregnant. I had been dealing with pre-diabetes for about 2 years before we conceived. I did a lot of things to try to improve my health. I lost 25 pounds by diet and exercise. I started eating completely different, and I was going to the doctor every 3 months to have my blood drawn and tested to see if I was improving my blood sugar. However, after 2 years of diet and exercise and losing all the weight, I had not improved my blood sugar. And so I went on a medication for diabetes to try to regulate it down. Now, diabetes, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a disease where if you are diagnosed once, you are diabetic for the rest of your life. And even though if you control your blood sugar and you have normal blood sugars after you've been diagnosed, it's just a diagnosis that follows you for the rest of your life. And so I really did not want to become diabetic. It was more of a personal thing. I wanted to do everything I could to not become diabetic and not have to go on medication. That's why for 2 years I tried to do it on my own through diet and exercise. So after 2 years, I knew that I wanted to start trying to conceive, and so I decided, okay, let's give the medication a try because I'm not able to do it through medication and diet alone. And so I went on medication. It was a very low dose. It was 50 milligrams of a medication called metformin, and I took it once at bedtime. And that did the trick. It kind of restarted my system to burn off the sugar and work well, like it was supposed to be doing. And so within like a few months of doing metformin with diet and exercise, my blood sugar levels went down to a normal level, and my doctor was really happy about it. She wanted to take me out of metformin because it had reset my system, and so she said, you know, you don't need to take it anymore. However, I was trying to conceive, so she said, talk to your OBGYN and see if they would like you to stay on metformin or to get out of or to stop taking metformin. And metformin is also used for a polycystic ovaries condition. So for people that can't get pregnant very easily, metformin sometimes helps. When I talk to so it's considered a little bit safer during pregnancy and conception than other medications out there. So I talked to my OBGYN when I found out that I was pregnant, to see if I should stop taking the medication, and she said no, continue on it because you already have a predisposition to pre-diabetes or diabetes, so it'll be better for you to stay on the medication. So I stayed on the very low dose all through my pregnancy and even after I delivered for about 6 months after. And because I was also high risk, I was over 35 and I had the predisposition to diabetes, and I was taking metformin. They followed me a little bit more closely, so I was considered at risk for my entire pregnancy. And at 12 weeks, I did a glucose test and passed that test. So that was good. However, for the first trimester, I couldn't eat anything but carbs. So I was really in bad shape in terms of my eating habits that I had worked so hard on. And then for the second and third trimester of the pregnancy, I had pelvic girdle pain, so I couldn't exercise at all, and it was just like a horrible situation. For the first trimester as well, I was so like sick that I couldn't eat anything but like crackers, rice, pasta, anything like that was super plain. I couldn't eat protein, I couldn't eat like veggies and fruit. It was just horrible. And so I was really worried about my blood sugar then, and I talked to my doctor about that, but they said it's okay. That's why they did the 12-week glucose test on me. So after that, when I finally was not sick anymore on the second trimester, my appetite grew and I started eating a lot to compensate for the first trimester. And also my hormones were like elevated because of the pregnancy and so forth. So then when it came to the 20-week glucose test, then I took a test and I failed. And I failed like just bare minimum amounts on the test. So my doctor said, let's take it again, because sometimes when you take the glucose test and you fail the first time, sometimes the second time you pass. But I was not very optimistic on that one, so I failed the second test again. And so, you know, I was like, okay, I'm classified as gestational diabetic. So I asked my OBGYN, I said, what should I be doing then differently, because I'm already on medication, I can't exercise, and I'm trying to eat healthier, but I don't know what to do now that I'm pregnant, because a lot of the things that I was doing before pregnancy was cutting all the carbs out of my diet, or, you know, a large majority of it. And I didn't want to impact my baby with doing different things to my diet. So she sent me to nutritionist that specialized in gestational diabetes, and I would highly recommend that if you're going through this, that you ask your provider to refer you to a gestational diabetes nutritionist, because 1 hour with this person, and she enlightened me in ways that I hadn't even thought that I could be enlightened about food. And she also taught me how to test my blood sugar, and she told me exactly like how many grams of carbs I was supposed to be eating for each of my meals during my pregnancy. And she also had me test my ketones, which are really important when you are gestational diabetic and when you are pregnant. So all of those things she explained to me. I would highly recommend that you ask your provider for a nutritionist, even if they say no, you don't need it. Ask for it if your insurance covers, because for the 2 years that I was dealing with pre-diabetes, I was asking for help from my doctor, and they never ever gave me that option of seeing a nutritionist. And so the comments that I got from the doctor was like, stop eating sugar. I'm like, yeah, but I don't eat that much sugar already, so I don't understand. I was eating clean for 2 years, and my blood sugar was still not coming down. Then it was like, well, don't eat sugary fruits. So then I cut all fruits out of my diet, and it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And I went on a paleo drive, which then raised my cholesterol. It was absolutely like, a maddening time in my life, because I was trying to fix my health, but I just felt like I had no support. So if you are going through gestational diabetes, please ask your provider. It's so important to have the right people supporting you medically. So ask for that, and don't take no for an answer. So after I saw a nutritionist, I had to prick my fingers 4 times a day after every big meal. Like, so when I woke up, and then after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner. And what that was measuring was my blood sugar spike after the meals. And during pregnancy, what they don't want is for your sugar levels to be spiking up and down, because it can cause like problems with your placenta. It can cause problems with the baby, and it can also, if you are gestational diabetic, most likely you will have a larger than average baby, which is what I was expecting. But at the end of the day, if you control your blood sugar, then you should be fine. It should not have any other impact on your baby or on you. So I controlled my my gestational diabetes throughout my pregnancy after the 20 weeks with diet and by measuring my blood sugar and with the 50 milligrams of metformin. So I was told that they would not let me go over 40 weeks during my pregnancy because of the gestational diabetes, because your placenta can fail. And so I was gonna be induced at 39 weeks, and but my son had other plans, and he came out into the world at 37.5 weeks. So I didn't need to go through an induction or the risk of having a C-section because of the induction. So I had my son in a normal birth. The other thing that they told me when I was asking questions about what can happen to the baby and so forth with gestational diabetes was that sometimes babies cannot control their blood sugars after they've been in the womb with a gestational diabetic mother, because they're getting all the sugar in there, and then when they come out they can control their blood sugars, and their blood sugars drop, and dropping your blood sugar can have very bad effects. So they tested him right after birth for his blood sugars, and it was normal. And then they tested him for a full day after that. Sorry guys, so Rourke woke up from his nap, so I had to go get him. What was I saying? So yeah, so after birth, Rourke got his blood sugar tested right after birth. They pricked his heels and tested just like I was testing my fingers during pregnancy, and his sugar levels were normal, which was great. And then they kept testing him for a full day after birth, every few hours, just to make sure that he wasn't dropping and he was able to control his blood sugar. And they were also testing me for the same things. And then when I was breastfeeding him after the birth, I continued to take metformin. I took metformin for about 6 months afterwards, and then finally I went back to my doctor to get tested again. I did a blood test. My blood sugars were normal, and then she said, okay, now get off the metformin because you don't need it anymore, and we'll see how your body does by measuring, by controlling the blood sugar. And so I have a test coming up, but I don't know what the results are yet, so I'll have to let you know in an update in the future. But I just wanted to share my experience with gestational diabetes for those that are going through this, and to say that if you do control your blood sugars, you know, you minimize the risks to your baby and to yourself. So don't start scaring yourself, because you know there's a lot that goes with stress and blood sugar. Stress can actually also affect your blood sugar if you didn't know about that. So don't stress out. It can be more harmful to you and to your baby. Just do your best. Really do watch what you eat and follow the plan that the nutritionist gave you. And if you do need to go on medication, go on medication. You know, like there are risks, but I think sometimes you need to measure the risks against the risks of not taking the medication. So, and as you can see, little Rourke is fine. He's doing very well. Other than a scare a few months ago, a couple months ago, of a virus that he got, he hasn't really been sick. He had a little bit of a congestion during the first month of his life, where everybody was sick around us and so he got, you know, congested and a cold, but that's about it. I mean, he hasn't had any issues with blood sugar or anything like that. So that's my video for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll try to answer them. I wanted to tell you that I am not a medical professional, so don't take my advice on it alone. You need to seek professional help. And I hope I have you know, given you enough information to ease your mind, but do follow the medical directions and do your best to manage your blood sugar. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Can you say bye bye? Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.